Let's talk about Luis Diaz. He's the name on everyone's lips at the moment. Yesterday, we heard from Sky Sports and a lot of reliable sources that Tottenham have tabled a bid for Luis Diaz. Tottenham and Porto are in talks over Luis Diaz. Sources in Portugal have told Sky Sports News that Spurs are willing to pay 45 million euros plus 10 million euros in performance-related add-ons, but Porto are holding out for 60 million euros. All this started from a source in Portugal that we did bring to you yesterday, saying that Tottenham have tabled a bid, and I believe that is true. Tottenham did table a bid, but it's nowhere near the kind of asking price. I mean, he's got a release clause of around 80 million euros. We're not willing to go anywhere near that. Glongari said last night that Porto have asked Tottenham to pay the release clause if they wish to sign the player. Ali Gold says that Luis Diaz has plenty of admirers at Tottenham. Paratici has opened talks with Porto and the players' representatives about a possibility of bringing him to North London this month and pairing him up with a mouth-watering front three of Harry Kane and Heung-min Son. The Guardian said that Tottenham have had a £37.6 million bid rejected by Porto. But then Miguel and Delaney gave us a little bit of hope, saying that there is a feeling that a deal can be done. And then Jogo, I think this was this morning now, says that Tottenham offer for Luis Diaz is way below the release clause that Porto are asking for. And also the Tottenham deal doesn't seduce the player. So apparently he might not be interested, but that's according to Jogo. I don't know how reliable they are. Record Portugal, another publication in Portugal, says that Daniel Levy does not intend to go beyond the figures he first offered for Luis Diaz, meaning the transfer is now very unlikely to happen. And then the latest update is from Dan Kilpatrick that says Tottenham face an uphill struggle to sign Luis Diaz, with the clubs currently some way apart in their evaluation of the player. The potential deal for Luis Diaz is further complicated by Porto's only own 80% of his registration, which gives us terrible memories of the Paulo Dybala deal.
I swear, but it's happened with a load of other players as well that we never get over the line because of all these registration malarkey and all this business.
It feels like we only go for players that have particular problems that we can't get over the line.
Just so we have an excuse later in the day when it all falls apart. I mean, for me, this Luis Diaz thing. First of all, as much as I think he's a great player, in terms of like the kind of player he is, he definitely prefers to play on the left-hand side, and we have at the moment Son who plays there, and we have Bergwijn who plays there. I'd much prefer a player who's more natural on the right-hand side, but I'm not going to complain getting a good quality player in there.
If he was to come in, do you think that shifts Sonny over to the right?
Yeah, I'm not sure if he would go over to the right or if Sonny would. It would be or maybe they just rotate. I don't know what the case would be. It'd be interesting to see how Conte deals with that. I also think Diaz has the finishing ability to maybe play in a two up top. He could be recoached in that way, the same way that Sonny's moved over from the left to a forward position. I think Diaz could definitely do that as well. But when it comes to the deal itself, it just seems way too complicated to get over the line. We've bid 37 million. That's been rejected. They want 66. Like I reckon there's probably a fee that is acceptable in between that. But whether Tottenham are willing to go that high, you're probably looking at 50 million here.
Yeah,
55 million maybe.
George Bannister was talking last night, and a few other publications also saying that there was a 15 million difference in the asking price of Porto and what Spurs are kind of offering. If that is the case, and it is just a 15 million price difference, and we're really serious about getting in, you pay that money.
Yeah, but we're not. We're not serious about it. We're just doing it. We're doing it for show. Every time we go in for a player like this, it always happens. Every single time, we're always 5 or 10 million difference. And then that's the sticking point, and then we don't go any further. Why do we every time we go for a player of high quality, we always value them like at least 5 million lower than what the club wants? And I know it's always a give and take. But it always seems to be the stubbornness of Levy preventing us going for these deals, and I can't see this getting over the line. I don't think it's a case of I don't see as much as I think Luis Diaz would come to Tottenham. I don't see him rocking the boat to move to Tottenham at this current time. I don't think he would be so desperate that we could get him to rock the boat at Porto so they lower their fee. I don't think that would be the case. I think he's probably quite happy there. They're obviously in a title challenge. Are they still in the Champions League? I can't remember if they're still in the Champions League. Or
I'm not sure.
I remember they were They were in the same group as AC Milan, I think, early in the season. I can't remember anyway. They're obviously going for a title in Portugal.
They're not still in it because I think Milan, Atletico Madrid and Liverpool were in their group.
That was it. I remember he scored the winner against AC Milan earlier.
They finished third, so in Europa League.
So it's on Tottenham to stump up the money. Ali Gold yesterday. Let me get this tweet out because I thought it was quite telling, but also quite obvious what direction it was heading in. He said, going to be fascinating with Luis Diaz. Spurs have been in this position before and not pushed hard enough to bridge the gap in valuation to sign a top-class player. This will be the first real test under Conte to see whether they can learn from their past mistakes. And I have very little faith that we will. Very little faith that we will add that extra few million, push the boat out a bit more and get him over the line. I just feel like this is written for Tottenham to come out of this deal and say it was too complicated, they wanted too much money, and it'll go by the wayside. I don't believe for us. I reckon we thought what's probably the situation from what I've read is we thought that Porto are desperate for money because they need to satisfy the FFP. They need whatever X amount of millions in through January, so we thought we could get him a bit cheaper. So we underbid him for about 37 million. We thought, okay, we maybe they'll accept it. They haven't accepted it, and I don't know how much further we're going to go up. That's not how Levy does things. He doesn't like to go too much higher than the original. I mean, right now we're haggling over a few million for Adama, and I'm expected to believe we're going to go to 55 million for Luis Diaz.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I can't see it.
It's a joke. I mean, it's the same thing every single year. Don't get it. That's why I was so negative about it yesterday. It's because you know the way it's going to play out every time. You just know. And it's just so frustrating. It's just so frustrating. And if we now don't get anyone of substance anyway, let's say we just get Amrabat in from now to the end of the window, everyone's going to be up in arms. It's going to be a terrible window if that's the case. I mean, we've been hearing all window Adama's going to come in, and that's gone completely quiet now. That's gone completely quiet. I mean, even Simon Stone just came out recently on Adama and says there's no progress at all, Adama to Spurs. So that one's gone completely quiet. The only one that it looks like at the moment that's going to get over the line is Amrabat. That's the only one.
Yeah, I know, and that's the most depressing thing. But sticking on Luis Diaz, the reports that 80% of his registration is owned by Porto, and that means we're probably going to have to pay even more money to release him from the registration and own 100% of him. We must have known about that before. This can't be a surprise.
Well, no one at Spurs ever does their due diligence and looks into players properly about what it actually takes to sign the player, ever. This situation comes up way too often, and why it never comes up for any other clubs.
But it must be something we're aware of when we're bidding for a player. We can't think that we're a £1 billion company. Yeah, with Levy values Tottenham over £3 billion,
multi-billion pounds.
Exactly. Company. So I'm expected to believe that when they go into a business deal like this, that they're not all fully aware of what they're trying to buy. Surely they are. Yeah. And I think that's why I don't believe at all when those Portugal reports saying Luis Diaz doesn't want to come to Tottenham. I don't believe that for a second, because I don't think we make a bid unless there's signs that he wants to come. I don't think we make a bid unless we've definitely spoken to his agent. That's how transfers work these days. No way have we made a bid without knowing whether he wants to come or not. I don't think that's possible. So I think there's definitely an indication he'd be interested in coming. I don't believe that, but surely we would have known about this 80%. And if that's true, then that 37 million is a complete underbid, because they have to bid even more to get him over the line.
Yeah. Spot on. There's a super chat here from Ryland1738 saying, feels like this Diaz deal is just a smokescreen on the Amrabat deal. Levy has just seen the fans' reaction, is now trying to get them off his back. What'd you say to that?
Sorry, one sec. Yeah, I mean, that we've seen it before, haven't we, with Levy? Yeah. It's happened so mmany times where yesterday with the whole Amrabat news and the Adama news, it was the deal was stagnating. The fans were starting to get a lot of very vocal, starting to get on his back, and then all this news about Luis Diaz comes out, and all of a sudden people start getting excited again. We've seen it 100 times. How many times have we seen a PR move on deadline day where we make a completely stupid bid for a player, which is never going to be accepted, and the player probably doesn't even want to come, and then the deal never happens, and then we're left on deadline day thinking, oh, you know, we tried to get these players in, but it didn't happen deadline day. We're just going to have to move forward with Luis Diaz. Like, it's happened so many times. It's happened time and time again, and it's really frustrating that we have Paratici and Conte here, two very ambitious people who've been very used to being at clubs who have a winning mentality and breeding a winning mentality and getting what they want.
Needs.
And Paratici especially, he's very much been of the he's very much said that in the summer, he said one of the most important things he learned from being sporting director at Juventus was, if you're 100% convinced on a player and you're arguing over a few million, you pay the money, because it's more worth paying the money than not getting the player if you're 100% convinced on him. And that's always been the downfall of Daniel Levy. And yet, it appears a lot. Look, the window's not finished yet. We've still got 5 days left. But right now, as of the 26th of January, it appears to be the same thing happening again and again.
Yeah, exactly. And when I heard those quotes from Paratici, that's what got me really excited. It got me really excited, those kind of words from Paratici, because then you're thinking, oh, right, maybe something is changing at Tottenham. But at the moment, as it stands, it seems as though everything is just the same. But that's the kind of situation where we are with Luis Diaz at the moment.